Okay, so good morning everyone. This is week 26, day 2. It's the 15th of October 2019 and we're out in the woods. It's just that's better. So, little improvement on yesterday's video. Got the good sound recorder, the Avistir EVISTR, don't even know how you're supposed to pronounce that, L150, which is very cool, the Purple Panda, which is an amazing microphone, a little squirrel running off there if you could see that. We've got the Hohem iSteady Pro gimbal and the Firefly 8SE camera, and all these things are rigged together in what looks like a fairly complicated way, but essentially the Purple Panda plugs into the Avistir, which is set to record, and the headphone jack going out, which is a digital headphone jack, it's a nice piece of kit, goes into the Avistir adapter for GoPro Heroes, which is the same mini USB, not micro USB connector, that's in the side of the Firefly. Now when you get the Firefly you do get a standard microphone with it, which isn't bad. You know, it's not a bad microphone, but A, it's nice to have a spare in case something terrible happens to your microphone, you're not put out of action, but B, this rig, because the Avistir is recording and essentially the camera is listening on the headphones, you get 2 audio tracks. Now that it has occurred that I have lost the audio track for some reason from the camera. I think it was my fault. I think I switched off the external microphone and I had like awful internal microphone recordings. So yeah. So I still had the Avistir audio recording to go with the video footage, which was a pain to sync up, but it was a lot better than losing the entire video. So that's just a rundown on what kit I'm currently using, and all that's connected to a standard boom pole, which is designed for microphones, but the awesome thing about the Hohem iSteady Pro is that it has 2 camera accessory mounts. One in the base, so you can attach it to the boom pole, and its own little tripod, so you can actually set it up, and one in the side so I can hook in, well, what I've got is the top of a selfie stick, you know, the little spring-loaded phone holder with a little pad to make the audio recorder sort of sit steadily in the, you know, the phone mount of the selfie stick. And holding the 2 together is a standard 1/4-20 to 1/4-20 male-to-male adapter, so you can hook it all up together. So I thought we'd come down to the river this morning. And you see, what you're seeing there is essentially the formation of rapids. The river now has rapids. And if you can see over there, it's also eaten away. Bear with me. The joystick on this is not tremendous. You can see that the river's eaten away a new bank. Let's see how far we can get. This is nature reshaping geography in about as rapid a way as it does. So you can see the speed of this is a lot faster. And the downside is that means that all the baby trout that I videoed last year on ranges, there's no way they can exist here. They're going to have to wait till they're going to basically travel down river once they're born, and hopefully survive all this, including those rapids, and we'll need to get out to a slower bit. So hopefully in spring that's not going to, you know, prevent all the young trout from being able to find somewhere where they can just live safely until they get big enough to swim upstream, where they can resist the current of the river. So that has changed the dynamic of the wildlife in the river, just the amount of rain, and that's on an extremely local level. So you tell me. You know, and the amount of rain we've had is purely as a result of global warming. I can remember when I was a kid, it sometimes used to snow in October. Doesn't anymore. Doesn't really snow in this part of the UK anyway, all that much. We maybe get a few days of snow a year, whereas I remember there used to be weeks of snow in the 1970s. So yeah, so I'm gonna see what we've got. But I just thought that was interesting from an observing nature point of view. Obviously, it's not very much other than, anecdotal evidence. But yeah, all these things are connected. So as of this morning, the Metropolitan Police in London have basically given themselves permission to move all the Extinction Rebellion activists out of London completely. They're not allowed to protest in London at all, which is pretty amazing that you can do that on a whim. I think they're making their point. So, you know, hopefully there's a few historical scholars amongst Extinction Rebellion, and they'll start looking into military history. Look at people like the people of the Masada, the city of Masada during ancient times, during the height of the Roman Empire, and the Viet Cong, as well as looking at Gandhi. You know, hopefully they'll have all read Sun Tzu's The Art of War. So we've got now a naturally formed weir. And that's, you know, you look at the shelf in the water. And yeah, this is only a stream at the moment. It is actually a river. It's called a river, the River Medlock. But you can see how literally the force of the water has shifted these concrete lumps and stone and huge rocks. It's just pushed them and pushed them and pushed them, you know, by undermining the silt underneath the large rocks. It's pretty amazing. It did rain again yesterday, but it didn't rain that much. But I suppose over on the hills in the Peak District, which is where this river starts, we've been there. You've got basically a huge amount of water catchment area, and then it all flows down here. All right. So in addition, addendum, as far as kit goes, I also bought myself a Grail, Grayl water filter, because for some reason, a bit like some of the kit I've bought in recent months, for some reason it was markedly cheaper this month, at £22, which for I think it's 500ml. It's basically works like a cafetiere. I'll demonstrate it for you as soon as I get it, and I'll bring it down. And you can actually do things like safely drink river water. It'll sort out like 150 litres before you need the filter replacing, and the filters are about £11 each. But the one that I bought is a steel one, so a stainless steel water filter with replaceable filters. But yeah, so we got the beach back. If you remember, just a few days ago the water was too high for us to be able to be over here, and we wandered down. But the beach on the other side, where we have stood before, just on the bend in that river, that's been uncovered as well. So if you think there's been There's probably about 3 feet difference in what the height of the river last week is this week, and who knows what kind of problems this gigantic amount of water is causing downstream. You know, what are those people dealing with? So yeah, this is the sort of thing that makes me worry for what things are going to be like, you know, 10 years from now, when sea levels rise once the Greenland ice sheet, like a massive ice sheet, is melted. I mean, one of the darker things about it, one of the more distressing things I heard about it, is that there's actually quite a lot of nuclear waste in Greenland, and some of that will become uncovered because it's literally been buried in the permafrost, which is about as far as they could dig down. So they dug down and buried a load of nuclear waste, and that stuff is coming very close to the surface. And yeah, I'm sorry, but I don't really fancy playing Fallout for real. So yeah, that's interesting. Speaking of playing Fallout for real, I have decided that I'm going to do a Let's Play series of videos. Subsequent videos, once it's up and running, will include the Let's Play Fallout link, because I've got an idea of how to play it kind of in a very interesting way. This is one of the things that my ex-girlfriend said to me once, and I don't think she came up with it, but the concept of people are wealth. You know, your real wealth, your real ability to do stuff, your real resource, where you can take what you have and turn it into what you need. What you need is people. But yeah, which brings up, you know, so I'm going to be entering the lottery for the next few months, and hopefully we can yeah, bail out, maybe, because I'd really like to build like a blueprint for, you know, a society that is resistant to government incursion. But you need money to do that. I mean, shit, if I was one of those billionaires, I would be very interested in quietly setting up a whole bunch of colonies all over the place where it didn't rely on exterior resources. Not necessarily like a biodome or anything, but an environment that could look after itself and was a repository for all sorts of useful knowledge and technical achievements. So, you know, it would cost a bit, you know, in a situation where people could get about. So yeah, produce its own vegetable oil, that kind of thing. Produce, you know, some diesel engines, a lot of wind turbines and stuff, a whole bunch of 3D printers, lathes, you know, literally somewhere that could just churn out whatever it needed, should that become a viable thing. You know, not on any industrial scale, but, you know, some metal lathes, a wood lathe, woodworking tools, metalworking stuff, circuitry bays, the kind of renewable energy power plant that could drive it all. You know, localized power and then spread it in workshop power, which is going to influence how I want to build a game of Fallout 4. I'm not promising it will be great. In fact, I'll be learning as I film it, and I'll split it into half-hour episodes and get those uploaded as I learn. I'm going to try and stop watching Fallout 4 videos on YouTube because I'm kind of fascinated by a world that allows you to build a series of connected settlements. But yeah. So that's part of my plan. I need to get the studio rigged up. I need to get the studio rigged up anyway. I've been threatening to do it for about 6 months and I still haven't managed it. So yeah, kind of want to get that done this week and next week, and just get a working area so I can actually do some indoor videos because I want to keep up with this video a day thing, and I need to get back into the exercise as well. And I need to carry on looking at diet, because it's all a progression. But no doubt I have a better understanding of how to get stuff done. I don't know where that dog is, because that would imply that the dog's somewhere out here. But it's probably barking at all the wildlife you tend to see out here. Alright, there's people. It's not a dog in trouble. It's a dog being noisy because it's having fun. Okay. Thought I was going to have to stop filming there. But we don't film people without their consent. Consent culture, people. So yeah, so that's some future planning. Also got some 3D printing projects. You know, when you couple, you know, all the tools that you can now get and assemble. You know, you can now get a laser cutter, you can now get a 3D printer, soldering irons, electronics setups and stuff like that for very little money. And if you are a parent and you've got kids, as I am, although my child is totally not interested in building things as far as I can tell, but you know, who knows, maybe she just hasn't seen the right electronics, she hasn't seen anything that inspires her yet, because this stuff is doable. I mean, you know, even I can do it, and my brain actively resists remembering syntax and stuff like that, which is why I can't really code at all that well. But when I'm in the zone, I can do it. You know, so yeah. What would a cool robot do? So yes. You know, I've watched the development of this for many years. And I know Chipko's out there building, he's got a LiDAR setup built up, so you know, maybe we could do a group effort if we can share something, some cool part of AI. I know Digital Whiskey's working on FLIR, which is the heat infrared thing, so he's got thermal vision camera. So yeah, you know, if you build enough sensor and detection and response stuff, you've got a robot, basically, an autonomous system that will do some of your work. I quite like to work with short range radio and see if I can get that working. So short range radio, remote sensors that make judgment calls, that's a robot. You know, and now with 3D printers, we've got the ability to make sensible housings, so we can put them in different places. Mounts for solar panels, so they can look after themselves power-wise. You know, what if the remote sensor has a level of artificial intelligence? Well, you know, for about £100 you could build a cluster of Raspberry Pi Zeros. Put about 10 of those together, quad-core processors all working in concert to work out responses to stuff. How hard is that going to be? All you got to do is program in enough subroutines, and with, you know, you've got half a gig of RAM to play with. Who's going to program a piece of software that runs half a gig of RAM? You know, I still would like to see an external memory module for Raspberry Pis. That would be nice. Something that, you know, like the next generation of Pi has external memory inputs. That would be a good thing to see. So you could put like 32 gigabytes of RAM on a Raspberry Pi and start really building it into something that more approximates an artificial intelligence. I mean, if you look at the artificial intelligence in video games, if you had something as smart as a video game that was helping you out with some base subroutines where it understands that, you're trying to do cool stuff, that would be cool. Sorry, you haven't seen me. I've just been walking around blaring. So yeah, Chipco doesn't watch these, but it is interesting. I mean, he is, you know, more of your on the cutting edge type person than I am, but I'm still fascinated by it. I still think there are things that we can do on an individual level, skills that we can learn. You know, you get this whole 3D printing thing going, you get some Arduinos going, and before you know it, you've got little tank robots that can go do stuff. Or if nothing else, act as mobile motion sensors. You know, how hard would it be to rig one of those up with a Raspberry Pi and have the Arduino say, oh, I don't know what that is, you know, take a picture for me. But yeah, it is interesting. So yeah, got to get that bloody studio sorted. And I'm not going to have time this week really. So today is probably the most amount of time I've got free. Like 100 little jobs to do before I go to work today. But if I can get even half of them done, I can sort it and get things sorted out a lot better. Yeah. So there's lots of things that will be possible in the near future. Definitely want to get that Fallout gameplay, sort of philosophical Fallout, up and running. But I will probably have to give that its own channel. Yeah, I will have to let people discover that. I don't know if you've got a name for it. I think it would probably be something, you know, quite a socialist version of Fallout. Just wander the wasteland, building settlements, setting it up so that you've got loads and loads of people. And ergo, you know, you create a wealth creation system so that you can improve the lot of the people that are there. I mean, it's not like they get to choose what improves their lives. In a real society, you'd sort of say, right, here are the options with the resources we have. You know, I'm vetoing anything that destroys our food or power production capacity. But what do you want? What do we want as a society? And some kind of like socialist feed through, you know, not like you may not own money or you may not own stuff kind of socialism, but in a kind of everybody put in suggestions and we triage the resources. Or if we've got resources for everything, or we only 5 people want to do one thing, we work out what 5 people's worth of resources looks like and say, right, okay, we'll sideline your efforts for a bit if we can afford to, and put the resources into making the thing that you want to see. So yeah, and just keep going, you know, constant improvements. Kaizen! See? Kaizen comes back. You know, as discovered by Toyota in the 1970s, the march of incremental improvements towards a common goal. And as you're working towards that goal, your idea of what an improvement will change, will change, and what further improvements, you know, sort of like stretch goals. Once you've reached that goal, you move on. And that's all life is, really. A series of stretch goals. You're alive. If you're watching this, you're in a relatively industrialized society. You've got access to this stuff too. Apologies for me not being able to speak your language. I really like the idea of someone far, far away putting in the Google Translate and watching this. That'd be good, but mostly it's just English-speaking people because my reach is not that far. But you do what you can. You gotta push with the rod you got. Oh, I miss Sean Kennedy. I wish that guy was back making videos. It's 20 years ago now. So yeah, I think we can now declare it officially autumn or fall, moving into winter. So a lot more indoor videos from here on in, but I will try and get out into the woods so you can see it change. Maybe do a mashup of various videos. But it's good exercise if nothing else. Win-win. Video recorded and will be uploaded, and I've got some exercise and blood into a camera. Maybe next week I'll do some running. Just that all this week I'm actually doing a little bit of survival training for my dad, who will have a new camera to play with, and we'll see if we can get you a really interesting video, because they're all of a sudden interested in learning how to light fires and put up tarps, which is well interesting. Whew. So we'll see what we can do. So that's it. That's my ramble for today. Thank you for watching, and do take care.